So first we do a prayer. Noze namda raji nunru be raji juju shina juba sangi chodan gindun pape zo guna chase daja rashi shu demi zalden dunru gon chembe nyembe kara padam guna gongba yajira daba je lumbu darba zalda balda simje tamje lagung drabe be yizam zeba zerab drabel Zenzam dube jashi bebe devara shikpa gela chazalo jambe jono palden durjezi chere sewa gumbo jambe sai nimbo deba numbras namge nimbo pajo kundu zang ube doji pegara loji nubu dawa reti nima yi chase lenam jashi pegi Janju Sempa Gyala Chazalo Rinjen Dujo Tashi Sirki Dujo Punza Yung Kamala Nyenda Tungtang Punzo Pepe Minu Gyase Wanjuro Kolo De Rinjen Tacho Yegi Chaden Chudu Gyawa Chujen Gye Ma Gesong O Tembe Pepe Tashi Lamo Gyala Chazalo Sangpa Shimpo Dejung Seme Migdon da gelpo yulkur sung pake podan luwa mimi. Namte sede laze kolo dan tishu la dan dontung doji. Biwan rati chete ngezenzi sasum nesu kili tashi. Jiten kyungwa gyala chasa lo daja tingdiri chawa zumba. Gedan nyewar tsewa kunjini dudun bebe samdu yijin rup Trashi dele busum so para shu daja dingdere jawa zumba geda nyewar tsewa kunjini dudun bebe samdu yijin rup trashi dele pusum so para shu daja dingdere jawa zumba geda nyewar tsewa kunjini dudun bebe samdu yijin rup trashi dele busum so para shu Jumnende para gumbo jizin jambe yana sha salo konge lo de ni de ni da nam da ra sabe jingi du gon jizin jini ge du gon goda sabe sora mare mundu no gon ge sabe do so ko na po ji de se yana do je yana so du de je do nyu mo ni no le ge je de je je mare mo se de gon ni go jingi ju se ra de nam de ne sa ju 인데는 저 게세 테베고 주라진데 중요한데 다로 뭐지 잠프리 영데 엄마르브즈나데 엄마르브나데 엄마르브즈나데 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 구름도 되지지 우베테나 셔럽르드남 레바즈메 제메주고 공부좀 배우나 쳐서도 컨셉도 중세적 버드나요 공부좀 해야되기 금에 버려 통월아슈 공구리 유견 점자 배마 계절 동보라 연세 주경 배마 주네시소다 쿠르도 컨트롤 모베고 키게지소다 신결롭지 시소소 구루 배마 시디 공구리 유견 배마 계절 동보라 연세 주경 좀니 배마 주네 쿠르도 컨트롤 모베고 키게지소다 루비 신결롭지 구루 배마 시디 홍 우리 유견 점자 배마 계절 동보 예전 주경 우dum니 배마 주네 주소다 구르도 군도 기기 주소다 루비 징글로 베시소순 구루 배마 시디 이후 Wonderful to see everyone. So tonight, before meditation, I read a little bit from this book called Beyond Religion. I think this book, we have book study here group. People should read this. It's an amazing book by His Holiness Dalai Lama. It's called Beyond Religion. There's some very profound meaning in this understanding about spiritual practice and basically understanding of our mind. There is no spiritual practice beside your mind, so therefore it really speaks on those points, and I think it can be very helpful and beneficial to you beyond religion. So I'd like to just go through a little bit introduction. I will try. I'm nothing in comparison to His Holiness Dalai Lama. I can't speak his profound mind, but let me just try a little bit. Maybe I know a little bit more than maybe you guys. Maybe not. You can teach me. His Holiness is a Tibetan, I'm a Tibetan, maybe. He drinks butter tea, I drink butter tea too. But I think His Holiness, is one of the great, needless to say, what a great being he is. And is trying to bring the world together. His whole aim and object, so to speak, is to bring humanity together. Instead of dividing humanity, he's trying to bring everyone together. And he says that his main goal in life is religious harmony and humanitarian. And I think those two subjects very, very important for a better world and a peaceful world and an enlightening world. Something which we all wanted, how we can have oneness instead of divisions. The division brings so much anger, confusion, and the end result is suffering. And that's what we're trying to, whether it's on a personal level or whether it's on a general level, nobody likes division. Whether it's a family, whether it's your partner, whether it's your friends, whatever it is, that kind of situation which creates disharmony is something which we all try to avoid. However, we all want peaceful environment, but it doesn't seem to be happening all the time in our life. And then the question arises, what's the cause that why we can live in harmony? Why can't we have a world? Why can't we have a world where we can all see a human being as a human being? Very simply, your emotion is same as my emotion. Your anger is same as my anger. Your desire is same as my desire. Your jealousy is same as my desire. Your compassion is same as my compassion. So why do we make so much separation, so much division? My religion, your religion, my tribe, my caste, all kinds of course, probably the word duality is what we can say, but all kinds of division here, which brings lots of suffering and lots of confusion. But when we sit down and look at reality, really there is not much difference among all of us. We are all human beings. Not only human being, one who possesses the mind, but any body which possesses the mind have the same kind of feeling, including animals too. They like love, they want affection, they want caring, they like tolerance among themselves. Who has more patience? Animals' realm, within animals' realm, there are animals who are tolerant to each other. They prefer that versus the intolerance, such as human being too. We would prefer a tolerant friend, tolerant companion, tolerant family, tolerant society versus intolerance society. So really on that ground, there is this whole division. It's human-made. completely human-made. It's not something made by, we human beings make those divisions and then we blame on such as, let's say, different philosophies sometimes even go to the point that you would say God made that, or the Bhagwan did that, or the Allah did that, or whoever is the creator, we would label they did that. We go to that far to divide things instead of simply as one human family or as a general sentient being family, because the very deep feeling that we all have and we all share and we all want finally is happiness. We simply want happiness. We can all agree, as much as a dog would perhaps not able to speak, but would also agree another tolerant dog would, they are make more friends with another tolerant dog than an intolerant dog. They would try to stay away from that one intolerable dog among all the dogs, if there's a gang of dogs. But they would rather go to a dog who is more tolerant. They may not be able to speak that language, but that's exactly what they want. And we as a human being, we sometimes when we get right, we really get right, and when we get wrong, we get far wrong than an animal, to the point. We can make huge wars and suppression and all kinds of things which animals may not be able to do such thing. So I think then the questions, since like the dog who loves more tolerant friend or tolerant dog, another one, the questions come inner values. Then the question comes, tolerance is ethical value. Those are the words. Ethics means tolerance, patience, kindness, gentleness. That's what ethical means. There's no other ethicals than those values, inner values. So to have a better world, we need ethical values in this world. And those ethical values, gentleness, kindness, tolerance, accommodating, I think extremely important. To the point, within the Buddhist teaching, the teaching of Theravada, the teaching of Hinayana, it didn't make much space as far as more tolerant in that. A little bit too much discipline and a little bit too narrow-minded in that, which perhaps some people needed that. However, because the reason is called Hinayana, a smaller mind or lower vehicle, because it wasn't tolerant enough, so to speak, in a certain way. It was lacking the bigger awareness of accommodating a larger mindset, which is including all beings. And how do you work with all beings is through the Mahayana teaching explained through 6 paramita. And that is, how do you communicate with beings, bringing inner values ethically, which can lead to the goal of happiness. The final goal will be happiness. How do you achieve that? It's through this, the Mayan principle talk about 6 paramita and 4 immeasurable. Now, those 6 paramita, generosity, you need a method. When you practice compassion, when you practice sense of tolerance, sense of patience, you need a method. So these are the methods. How do you engage with another human being or engage with beings or environment, whatever that is, through generosity. Generosity simply doesn't just mean that you give something to someone. You can be generous giving your time. You can be generous taking a walk with someone. You can be generous listening to someone. That's generosity in so many ways. And then there's the second is not only you are generous in giving you space and time, but you do that, with ethically, like with respect. You listen to someone with respect. You're not there listening to them and then judging them and, putting your own narrow views, but listening, to be a good listening, what they have to say, so to speak, and listen to that. And if there is a way how you can solve a situation, so the next parameter comes the ethic. And have the tolerance to listen. Oh, I don't have the time. I'm too busy. It's too cold. It's too hot. I can't. I just have to go. My time is up. You make an extra effort trying to engage in listening to that. That's the third parameter, patience. In each and every one particular situation can have the sixth parameter, which is generosity, ethics, patience, and then diligence. You make extra effort trying to engage to that in whatever your possibility there is. Then focus. While you're engaging in that, your mind is completely focused to that. And then finally is the sixth one, is the wisdom, which is saying that inherently the reason things can change, or let's look at it this way, reason you can change yourself from something badness, some kind of aggression or whatever, neurosis, and you can change somebody else from a badness, because inherently there's no such thing as inherently bad. That's what makes it possible to change. If it's inherently something is really posited there as something bad, then nothing can change. For example, if it's a charcoal which is black, no matter how much you wash it under cold water, hot water, no matter what, it can never become white. It's always dark. If there is something, an emotion, which is fundamentally a person, let's say person who have some very negative quality, but the negative quality can change by engaging, whether himself or herself, or through a friend, or through family, or through guidance of a teacher. It could change, because inherently everyone has a very positive quality, which is called the Buddha nature in the Buddhist teaching. Now this theory is very interesting. I want to go back now to a little bit on the beyond religion, on the ethics. So now we see, when His Holiness emphasized that when he was talking about beyond religion, it brings up a lot of controversial questions too, such as that almost implies that the ethics beyond religion, for example, that's what he's talking about. Because today, out of 7 billion people, almost 1 billion people don't believe in religion. What about those people who don't believe in? Are they really bad? The question. They have no ethics. And then here the question comes, ethics beyond religion, there's basically, the controversy is those who are very conservative religious groups. For them, they feel like this is a threatening word, because every ethic has to involve religion. Anything which is beyond religion, how can there be ethical values in that? You have no religion, you're a communist, you have no ethics, so to speak. I'm sure when I speak communism, America was greatly involved with trying to get rid of MacArthur area, so you have instant idea what communism means. We say, I think in certain countries they call godless people communism. So basically means they have no inner values, no ethical whatever, so to speak. So then when we look at ethical values, I think we need to look into, it's not necessary. What his soulness is saying, that's not really true. That, you can have ethics beyond religion. It doesn't have to be religious people alone who are ethically, who just have ethic. What about people who don't have religion? So then we need to examine how come. Let's look into, is it possible a non-religious people can have ethics? And what about Buddhism? Then you look into different religious formation, their fundamental ethical inner values, how it sprang, what makes it spring ethical values and inner values for betterment of our society, for happiness, and finally salvation and liberation. So now it really comes down to from the Buddhism is a non-theistic religion, and theistic religions such as Hinduism, Christianity, Judaism, Islam, those who believe in a creator, that's what theistic religion. Those who don't believe in a creator, such as Buddhism, Jainism. In India, Jainism is the Indian one particular sect. They're very strict. I've seen Jain practitioners. They really follow the karmic cause and effect. For example, the Jain saints would walk naked. Almost naked they walk, in fact. Completely naked. There's nothing. They don't even wear underwear. Jain practitioner. And I can't speak completely why they don't wear underwear. It looks quite amazing. They're walking so freely, open. However, I understood they cover their mouth. They cover their mouth with a piece of cloth. That is so that when they breathe in and out, they don't kill the bugs. That's what they say. And when they walk, they don't wear shoes, so you don't kill bugs too. Because when you wear shoes, you may kill an ant. Versus if you walk bare feet, the chances are less. Maybe something could get killed, but so this is how very ethically they follow that. So Jainism and Buddhism doesn't really believe in creator. They believe in causality. Buddhism believe in causality, cause and effect. Jain also believe in cause and effect. They believe in the universe as beginningless. Buddhism believe universe is beginningless. For example, then you may say, what about Big Bang? Universe is not beginningless, Big Bang. You see, if you really observe carefully, everything has its cause, and its cause, and its cause. To say that suddenly there was a Big Bang out of nothing, that doesn't make any logical sense. Big Bang should have its own causal too, and its cause, and it's become beginningless. To say that suddenly there was a Big Bang without any cause, primary cause, and secondary condition, it's not possible, theoretically. When Big Bang happened, it has its own cause. And to have that cause, it has its own cause. Then when you really look deeper, it's infinite, beginningless. So the universe is beginningless, and the causality, cause and effect, is what determine our experience. That's what Buddhism believes. Evolutionary, So to say the world is 5,000 years old, certain religions say, or a particular number, that doesn't really come when you logically look into that. So now the Buddhist camp and Jain camp believe the function of our life is based on causality, cause and effect. And then at the theistic level, then there is a divine creator or divine one who orders things or one who shapes things up. Whether it's Bhagwan, in the Hindu religion they call Bhagwan, Christianity, God, Judaism, God, Islam, Allah. There's theistic religion. Then I think there's lots of wonderful things in theistic religion too. It's not really a question of fighting against each other, or one is better than the other, and that we need to, and I think most important thing is to observe oneself and see what is most beneficial to oneself. And perhaps one can learn from different traditions too. Learn something good from this tradition, one can learn good from this other tradition. Or perhaps you can just choose one which sees fit to you in particular. For example, in the theistic tradition, the whole ethical and inner value is developed through holding highly, respecting and holding highly or worshipping that divine principle. And then if you do something unethical, then perhaps you will be, that's not the right thing and you could suffer. Perhaps go to like a hell realm, eternal hell realm, whatever the damnation as prescribed in those particular, each different philosophical teaching of Christianity, Hinduism, Judaism, whatever, it has its own teaching. So in that way, people follow, lots of ethical values, and that in turn can bring happiness, Now, what kind of happiness? Again, question is it everlasting happiness or is it temporal happiness? You need to define that, look into that. I think when we are tolerant, let's say, a good Christian with tolerance, definitely it's wonderful. The family will feel much happier. You will feel more happier. Your friendship will grow. No question of that. And now on the Buddhist camp, doesn't believe in a creator, but believe in the causality, cause and effect, the consequence of that. And what makes a Buddhist inspired to further deepen the inner values and ethical values is knowing reincarnation. The consequence, what could happen to you in future life, a consequence, what could happen in this life, later life, in future life, and next life. So based on that, one has a strong sense of knowing karma means action, cause and effect, deeds. So that particular deeds can have consequence in your life, good or bad. Therefore, you bring inner values such as kindness, tolerance. So now a Buddhist labeled person practicing tolerance and a Christian labeled practicing tolerance in respect to the divine principle, and Buddhist person in respect to their causality, the result is same, actually. Because you see tolerance. There's not two kinds of tolerance. There's one tolerance. To say that it's completely two, it's like, a Buddhist labeled person drinking a cappuccino and a Christian labeled person drinking cappuccino, then you should take completely different. That's not the case. Cappuccino is cappuccino. Whoever drinks the same cappuccino. Espresso is espresso. Suddenly the Buddhist person become like decaf, and the Christian person drink espresso, Turkish coffee. That'll be really it will change the physics of the universe. So I think we need to get to see that too. This is important. I think in that understanding, we can have respect to all sides. And based on that, how we develop ethical values. Based on that, how we develop, inner values. And all religion very much speak about kindness, compassion, generosity, all those things, very much. Then, so now, so there's a lot of common things too. Then there are certain things which are not common philosophically. As you go deeper, the Buddhism, based on the law of causality, is an evolutionary basis versus the creationism. Creationism, there is one independent entity. So there is an independent entity, and it is basically the will of that entity seems like that whatever the creation is made of, it is because of the will, how the Creator wants to manifest that. Which, according to the Buddhist teaching, that doesn't work on that level. When you look deeper into a philosophical thing, but day-to-day life system, really not much thing. I think we really have to understand that when we get really sectarian, that's a problem, definitely in mind. I was just really a little shocked to find myself, actually I have to confess myself. My brother who came recently, and he went back to India now, he has a friend in San Francisco. He lived in America for a long time. And he has a Pakistani friend, and he's a Muslim friend. Today we have a lot of, there's a lot of Islamophobia. Definitely, there's due to ISIS and all kinds of crazy things going on. It's true. And sometimes, if you want to go out, let's say go out for a dinner or take a walk, am I going to go with a Muslim guy? Oh, there's that, what do you call it? There's, phobia. Maybe phobia is the right way. There's a phobia. Oh, maybe not. I don't want to do that. But then, when my brother goes out with that guy, they have just, he works, his Pakistani friend works in a, some Xerox machine or printing or whatever business he does, and they just talk about business. They go and have fun, and just like another human being. Only when we begin to think behind what's his philosophy, then we begin to make judgment. I think that's kind of like a little scary, in fact, that kind of phobia we have in our mind. It's really the perspective of ethical inner values all get lost. And I thought, wow, my brother has much simpler relationship with a human being than I have. If I have to go with that Pakistani guy, yes, I would have no problem. There's a good restaurant, we can go and eat lunch. But deep inside me, because I know a little bit more about philosophy, I would try to see him through a philosophical idea rather than simple human being. And that's a problem in me. I think that's my problem. And I think that kind of wall I need to get rid of. And so many of us, sometimes we become puritanical. We become too righteous. My way is the best, and your way is not good. But when we live, when we go to eat, when we drink, there's no problem. But only when you begin to bring this philosophy in your head, then you see a separation there and here. I think it's a little bit scary, actually. It's not the right thing. So anyway, that's one thing. We see real day-to-day life situation, we see that. Then on the other side, when we talk about philosophy, the non-theistic approach to life based on causality takes further deeper. The causality is not made by divine principle in Buddhist teaching. Causality is by nature. So therefore, there is no creator in the Buddhist teaching. It's not some independent entity makes a decision, okay, just make it that. There's no such thing like that, because everything requires that fundamental causality, which is the root cause, principal cause, and secondary condition, such as if you put a flower, you need to put the seed of a flower, which is principal seed, and then the secondary condition, water, gardener, taking care, right temperature, greenhouse. If this is winter time, you need a different way to grow. Summer, maybe the whole nature is more complementary. Winter is more challenging, so you need to make a greenhouse. So therefore, without that kind of interdependent, there's no one independent force can make it. That's the Buddhist view. There's no such thing as one independent can make a flower grow. It requires all those evolutionary, all those interdependent phenomena to come for a flower to grow, for emotion, inner values, inner ethical, whatever patience, it also needs to grow through interdependent. So when we say, if things are, inner values, so inner beings and external phenomena, let's say external phenomena such as mountain, trees, ocean, rivers, so forth. And inner phenomena as an individual. Let's look at the inner phenomena in individual versus the external phenomena, the mountain, trees, whatever the external thing. Both are interdependent. There's no such thing as one independent entity can make it happen. That's why, if things can happen just directly in conjunction with the entity, God, or Bhagwan, the debate is, philosophical debate is there. If there is something, then that person who makes you can instantly hear you and instantly change you and instantly make you a better person, or to be from animate to an inanimate to animate instantly. That by nature doesn't work that way, because nature works through causality. So therefore, even your emotion, to have whether a good feeling or negative feeling such as anger or jealousy or whatever it is, requires so many facets and so many situations to come together. You need subject, you need object, and you need many cause and many condition, and finally there's emotion rise, whether you like it or you didn't like it, for example. There's no one thing just make it that emotion. No one independent thing can make it like that. It requires all those facets finally. And because there's so many facets, it's called interdependent. Now, if things are interdependent, then it's take further deeper to the next level. Means there is no independent state. Means all these are revolving because things are happening. So many things going on. You begin to see, for a moment you think, oh, maybe this is a good thing. For the next moment you think, doubt. Maybe that could not be right thing. Or maybe it's partial right thing. Or maybe it's not partial. So many things going in your head, trying to see one situation. It's because so many facets, so many information from external to internal is happening. There's not one independent thing happening. If it's just one independent thing, then it's just very easy. Okay, this is it. But our lives are complex. Complexity tells is interdependent. If it's independent, there's no complexity in that. Then just things will just like, this is it. But because it's so complex, interdependent, so many facets to one particular idea we can have. And that facet further takes, because there is no inherent independent state, therefore is devoid in essence of, that's the Mahayana Buddhist philosophy, that all phenomena is interdependent, and moment if it is interdependent, then is emptiness. Meaning, what empty? Empty of independent. It doesn't mean empty, this chair doesn't exist. Doesn't mean you don't exist. Doesn't mean your emotion doesn't. But your emotion, yes, there is. But it is God. Its essence is devoid. Therefore, the emotion can change because it's empty. If it's not empty, it cannot change. If it's independent, no emotion can change. No karma will ripen. You know, the flower, one flower has a shape, some bending this, some going up, some this way, because it's interdependent. I cannot imagine a picture if things are just independent. That has never happened. It's not the law of the physics. So therefore, ethical, secular ethics in Buddhist teaching, since every interdependent nature is devoid of inherent, that independent existence, there's goodness in that. That's where the goodness. So then again, of course, a lot of questions came up. You know, goodness in a sense is inherently, there's no badness. So where does the badness come then? What about that violent person? What about that person who kills so many people? Or doing all kinds of crazy things going on this, where that is happening, if there is fundamental goodness? That kind of questions can arise. So then, what's the explanation in the Buddhist teaching? You know, even as far as the essence of the wisdom, devoid of inherent existence of independent state, is whether it's good emotion or whether it's bad emotion, has the same essence. Because good emotion is also interdependent, bad emotion is also interdependent. When you feel love and compassion or patience and kindness, that's also interdependent because it happens due to subjective and objective. You know, many situations brought together. As far as, you know, you want to kill someone or you want to, you know, do something bad, that's also due to subjective, objective, many phenomena. In conjoined, that's also happened. But both are devoid of any independent because the badness, the person can change mind. Oh, I made a mistake. In fact, we say, I'm sorry. Yesterday, if I said something hurt you, or I did something which perhaps wasn't right, I'm sorry. Because it's interdependent. There's no independent. If it's independent, then it's eternal. It cannot change. There's a notion of independent. Eternal cannot change, then there is no way. It's like person is always bad. Buddhist teachings say everyone is basic goodness. And the fact, where do you see that basic goodness? Is by seeing interdependent. If it's not interdependent, there is no way to see goodness at all. Then a bad, you know, the God is far away and you are here and you can never be, you know, in conjunction because you are simply bad. And there's no possibility in that case of enlightenment. That's why when you do meditation, for example, how the meditation is taught to you, it says regard all thoughts as same. No special treatment to good thoughts. Supposing you have, oh, I feel so compassion, you know, I can lick the wounds of everyone's injury of the universe. or something like that. You feel, oh, this is so special mind. How did I have? I never thought like that. This feels good. And then you cling to that. And then another thoughts come, you know, I want to kill every person I see today. So now, do you reject that bad thought and do you bring that good thought in? Neither of them in meditation. In meditation, you are told to see both of them same. Because you cling to good thoughts, it will trap you. You cling to bad thought, it will also trap you. An example is used, if you get bitten by a white dog and bitten by a black dog, the injury is same. No difference. If you're chained by a gold or if you're chained by an iron, you're chained, no difference. So therefore, all thoughts you need to transcend. And transcend doesn't mean you're doing something artificial transcending. That wouldn't work. That will only, like you can take a drug. It alters your mind. You begin to see differently. And the moment the power of the drug goes away, the reality dawns on you, whatever is there. That's not the point. You try to escape from that, it never works. It's only like a drug way of doing things. You have to be there, see. So, in that way, whatever comes in your mind, you just watch and just simply knowing, oh, this is a thought, which usually you run away after that thought. Then one thought connect to the next thought connect to the next thought. It's called a bead of thoughts. Beat means when you do like, mantra, let's say Mani Padme Hum or Om or whatever, Mani Padme, Mani Padme. So you go circle, 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 1 round, then 2 round, and 3 round like that. So there's no end to the thought. It's like, I can use the other example, like, you're driving in Denver and no exit. Make you crazy at the end of the day. That's what's happening in our life. We are spending our life like without any exit. Just keep spinning, 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 spinning. So, therefore, when you sit, you're told, regard all of them. It's just, your thought, which is true, is your thought. We're not trying to imagine, it's not. And they never say in meditation practice, you need to bring a divine principle in your mind. It just say, work with whatever is in your mind. Very simple. Because in the Buddhist non-theistic philosophy teaching, causality is nature. In fact, the highest level of Buddhahood is also by nature. It is nothing particularly some kind of divine principle of such as a creator. Buddha is not a creator in the Buddhist teaching. Buddha is someone who recognizes the mind and transcend from that exit, who find the exit, transcend from that. But is not regarded as a creator anyway. So, since everything is mind, since our whole life situations, we create through our mind and we experience our mind, therefore understanding the mind is so important because all this suffering and confusion in your mind, the mind has the potential to clear that and mind has the potential to overcome that. And for that, the practice of meditation is the most effective. There's no other method more beneficial than meditation practice. And then outside when we go post-meditation, then we need compassion, kindness, gentleness, tolerance, all those qualities, very beneficial. But when you sit, you don't want to engage. When you meditate, then no special treatment to any kind of thought. You just watch that. And the moment you see that, just say, here conceptual arise, and let go. Because if you don't do, then your mind it will go back to ordinary wandering mind. It's called wandering mind. Then you have one thought, that thought will bring another thought, and that will bring another thought, and finally you are wrapped up into some messy situation. Thoughts of the past, thoughts of the future anticipation, and the present state, all wrangle up. And then you won't even know where you are. And not only that, you will not only know where you are, because the moment the mind is distracted, it becomes neurosis, actually, if you look deeper. Because mind has to a distracting mind, a wandering mind, which is not wisdom mind. Wandering mind, distracting mind, has to have an identity, its own identity, otherwise it cannot continue its life force, so to speak. It has to survive in its own identity, which is basically confusion. So a great deal of confusion happens, such as daydreaming or fantasy or this and that, and by the time you have no idea what's going on, and at the end, there's a sense of sadness, there's a sense of dissatisfaction, sense of loneliness, sense of depression, whatever. That's day to day everybody goes through because their mind got lost. And then how do we relate to the depression, or how do we relate to this sadness? It's through some aggression. We try to have some, quick fix. But the quick fix doesn't help with that wrong approach. It creates furthermore suffering in afflictive emotion, what is known as. So therefore your mind, now who can take care is yourself. The confusion comes from your mind, the answer is also in your mind. That's the greatest gift we have, is answer is there in our mind. And so therefore, in order to bring the mind to a level of happiness and peace, we need the, very important kindness, compassion, tolerance. All those qualities are extremely important to make a better life and a good life and happier life. Without that, it's absolutely not possible at all. No way to get that. So something like that. So one thing I want to say, we need to be more tolerant and be accommodating instead of being puritanical. I think puritanical is a dangerous mindset, that you think I'm the best, I know everything, you don't know anything. Always have a sense of looking down on other people. And if you just look at the afflictive emotion, our mind state, I'm sure some of you have, developed over the years spiritual practice and have more deeper into more openness, less self-centeredness. But we, as long as there's a mind which is still with the ego, has a problem. Everybody. It's just a question to a certain degree, how much or how less, or maybe in a middle way. But there is always a problem. So let me tell you one thing. Moment there's a sense of ego, it lives in a fear. This ego always have a fear of losing itself. And the way it reacts always brings some, our whole aggression. In fact, all passions and neuroses are the tentacles of ego, how it can preserve itself, in fact. So when there is an ego, if you see anyone higher than you, or anyone who has something better than you, or more fame, whatever, people get jealous. Even you hear someone that you never met, and when you hear, you get jealous. See, weakness. That's afflictive emotion. Then if you see someone equal to you, do you feel like, unless it's someone personally you love, but many times, I think sometimes even among siblings, let's not talk outside people, even siblings, there's competitiveness. Gentleness is lost. Competitiveness is there. Then if you see someone lower than yourself, you look down on them. That's the typical confused mind approach to life, ego mind approach to life. Higher than yourself, jealous. Equal to yourself, competitiveness. Lower than yourself, you look down. So now where can we go with that kind of mindset? It's leading to suffering, obviously, unless we change that mind. And can we change that mind? Yes, we can change that mind. But that's typical how the mind works. So in order to purify that obscuration, let's say that mind is like an obscuration, that kind of practice of meditation, extremely beneficial. Now in meditation, you're building up. Every day you're building up. You're watching the mind. Very simple. Actually, method is very simple. As I said, no special thought is given any preference. All are equal. Good thought, bad thought, whatever, they're all equal. You simply, and then when you breathe out, you're just being with the breath. You need to identify yourself with the breath because you need a method. The method will lead you to ultimate goal, liberation. But until you reach the ultimate goal, without working with the method, you cannot handle anything, this wandering mind. The wandering mind will go everywhere. So how do you bring the wandering mind? How you bring it grounding? You need to ground that wandering mind is through the method. Without method, then, it's just like every day. So some people use the method through breathing. Some people use the method through, they have a flower or some Buddha's image or whatever, focusing to that, and the mind just one pointed at with this. So different methods, but one needs a method. So I think the breathing meditation is mostly used in the West, is the ancient Indian tradition, the method, because the method when you use breathing is not completely an object, it's in between object and no object. Now, no object meditation, there's not even, if your mind is so clear, it will not be distracted, even you're not having a method. The method, you see, you can't rely on a method all the time. Method is simply temporal. Path, we call ground, path, and fruition. Ground is your awareness. Path is the way you use the method, whether it's the discipline or whether it's gentleness, whatever, that is the path. And the fruition, so fruition and the ground are same in the non-theistic tradition. Because the ground is, ground here we are talking, not afflictive emotion, ground is basic goodness. Ground is basic goodness, the essence of interdependence. And then the path, you are applying that ground, the view of the ground, who fundamentally goodness on that path. And here now, of course, since you have not realized yet the fundamental goodness, even it is there, it has never gone away, it has never been compromised. Because the essence of interdependence, whether you realize or not, is devoid of any independence. Whether you realize or not, it has never been compromised. It's never been sold. It's never been bought. No one can buy that. No one can be sold. It's by nature, it is an enlightened quality. That's what enlightenment has to be nature. It cannot be artificial. It's unconditioned. The essence of interdependence, devoid of independence, is unconditioned. Cannot change. No one can change that. But it's very deep. Right now, our emotions and afflictive emotion is so strong habit that moment there is a thought is also energy. Very subtle thought at the beginning, then gradually build up strong habit, then all the habit becomes so thick. It is no other than habit, how we live in our life. So, whether it's a thick slice of cake, this much or this one, you can cut it up. Doesn't mean thick slice you cannot cut up. So same thing, whether it's a thick habitual tendencies or very subtle habitual tendencies, they're all devoid of any independent state. That is the philosophical view. Now, in practice, how you do. One thing is important to know philosophy in order to understand what is the ground, what's the nature. Secondly, is to how to apply that as a practical level, so how you can see your basic nature. And that is through practice, method of meditation. So, it seems like at the beginning, when we say thoughts are just a thought, you see that and let go, seems like you're pushing away something away, and you're creating a big empty space. That's also wrong. Then again, you're dividing, you're holding on to something, you're creating something. In fact, that could be also pretty neurotic. It says that if you cling, then again, clinging, who does clinging is basically, clinging is done by ego. There's no other mind beside ego to make some kind of thing. It has to make something, and then it has to hold on to something. And that's where puritanical comes into it, for example. The role of puritanical, the role of self-righteousness, comes into that. It has never have, it has to be a very organic. The interdependent means every cells in our body, so to speak, every cells of that thought by nature is free and open. It is free and open without afflictive neurosis. Then, and as you keep sitting, then you can see there's no conflict, simply to have a thought. But right now, because our thoughts have been bombarding to us day and night, so much thought, we wish the thoughts goes away, and therefore people even close their eyes when they do meditation, so that you don't have to face the reality outside, sights and sound and smell and all these things. You feel secure, go into the little cocoon. I feel good. Open the eyes, scary. Smell, where's the smell coming? I'm getting, we get scared of five senses. So we choose to get closed up in that. That's not enlightenment. It just give you, yes, it does give you some kind of solace, right? Temporal at that moment. Therefore, there is a saying, those who have not really understood meditation and living in the mountains, and when they come down to the cities, when they see their minds get afflicted, they get scared. Oh, now again my mind can handle this. How do we see basic goodness if we have that kind of sense of thing? It's very deep how the mind is, but it's your nature. So therefore, we have to start somewhere, and starting somewhere is where you do the breathing meditation, and whatever thoughts and emotion arise, you recognize them as a thoughts and emotion, and just simply seeing that you let go. And this is all. During meditation, you need to do that. But of course, when you drive, don't let go in a red light too. You see a red light, this is also just let go. Not the right thing to do. You need some kind of, sense of judgment in post-meditation. But in meditation practice, you need to stay focused, because that's the only way how you can deal with the mind during practice of meditation. All thoughts are equal. No thought is special. You see it, you just with the breath. All thoughts, let it arise. Don't try to suppress the thought. A lot of time, our way of dealing is suppression. Day to day, basically that's all we know. Either we cling to it or we suppress things. If you think something beautiful or something you like, you cling to that. If you think something scary, you just, suppress that. And obviously that makes you very neurotic. There's no openness. So allow the mind. Sometimes just sit, if you have too many thoughts, just watch the thought. Let it arise without judgment. And what happens, it will wear out by itself. Like the ocean waves, even it's like 100 feet ocean. No matter how strong the waves, looks like it has to come back into the ocean. There's no other place. Same thing, when you allow the mind for it to come, it's like the waves, thoughts, whatever, without sense of judgment, it will rise, it will go back into the ground. So actually it's not really bad in that. When you look at, there's no difference between the ground and its wave. Ground means the ocean itself, and the wave. The great yogi of Tibet, Milarepa, was asked by a lady one time, how do you meditate? She said, when I meditate on the ocean, it's wonderful, but when I meditate on the waves, it's not easy. Means when she's just sit and remain in question, it's wonderful, but when she sees the thoughts, waves are rising, thoughts are rising, she said, then she's uncomfortable. How do I deal with that? Then she used another example. It's beautiful to be in the mountain, but it's hard to be with the plants. It's beautiful to be with the ocean, but hard to be with the waves. It's beautiful to be in the sky, but hard to be the cloud. So Milarepa answered, when you see the cloud, cloud is no other than the space, because cloud is the expression of the space. Remain in the space. When you see the waves, wave is no other than the ocean itself. Remain in the ocean. Because waves came from the ocean. It's no separate from the ocean. And all the plants and flowers going in the mountain is no other than the mountain. It came from the mountain. So just remain in the mountain. It's the same thing when you meditate. You just sit. And all those thoughts, whatever arise, they will liberate by themselves. That potential is there. So, something like that. Now let's do a meditation. Okay. can stretch your legs, and then we can have question and answer here. Answer if you have any questions.
Hello, Rinpoche.
No.
How does, from your perspective, if one's having addictions or sort of harmful patterns, you know, despite having intellectual knowledge, you know, of the obvious trouble, how does one look at the mind, you know, not just on meditation, but throughout the day to actually create enough energy or whatever it is to change a pattern, you know, because it seems so much easier to go into negative patterns than it is to, you know, sort of go the opposite direction. It seems like a well-worn path, at least in my experience.
I think you need grounding, first of all. The grounding means some kind of stability, some kind of taste of grounding. And without that, as you said, intellectually just thinking, perhaps it's not going to handle that. So therefore, again here I would say meditation practice is the best way, because it keeps you grounding. It not just intellectually, it makes you change. But you need to do that every day. If you just do randomly, it's not going to work. Every day you can choose 15 minutes, half an hour. Then at some point you begin to gain some experience, stability inside. Then post-meditation, that will have effect in your emotion, thoughts, change of habits, because you are more grounded there. Right now, when it's not grounding, the mind is very wavery. So not much thing to ground. So nothing much to attach to that, in some words, how you can bring it grounded to that. So meditation practice. And also, traditionally important to have a teacher, because the teacher watch you, and you need to work with the teacher. You need to be open to the teacher and find a method which the teacher teach you how to work with that. So without a teacher, even if you're sick, you need a doctor. Without a doctor, you can't think. Then as far as the mind changing habits, addiction, grounding, it requires a teacher. All you need to do is sitting. But sitting you can't do without a teacher too. You need someone to guide you like that. You're welcome.
So, good evening, Rinpoche.
Good evening.
So I actually have two questions, if allowed. So actually following up on the gentleman's question, something that I struggle with, society struggles with, probably a lot of people in this room struggle with is an addiction, like smaller addiction, like the smartphone, for example, spending way too much time on the smartphone or on the internet, something along those lines. Where at least when I'm engaged in those activities, I'm being completely mindless. It's the whatever it is the smartphone has hijacked me essentially, my mind. And so I guess, I mean, adding to what you have already said, I mean, how would we work with that during the day when we're not formally sitting down and meditating? How can we bring mindfulness to that so that we can let go of those addictions? And then the second question would be how to deal with obsessive thoughts. I had something happen to me at work today, and I'm just having trouble letting go of thinking about that. So, thank you.
Again, the same, I would say same answer, meditation. Really, without sitting practice of meditation, it's very hard to change things. Because you can intellectualize, that's not going to work. And in fact, you try it out different ways. But you need to sit and sit and sit and sit. And then finally, there's an opening. Without sitting, you will not understand the mind. Because it's you, basically. It's not something outside you need to understand. It's you within you need to understand. But in order to sit within, you need like very calm mind. For example, if you walk on a beach, and usually we try to learn about mind, know about ourselves. It's like by stirring muddy water. You try to clear that muddy water by stirring it more. That's our way of approach. The more thoughts you put, the more conceptual, the more ideas, you add more and more, then it gets like too many cooks spoil the food. So too many ingredients we put. This idea, that idea. Finally it gets so murky, you can't even know what's going on. Is this a Chinese food or Caucasian food or nobody knows. So now what do you do? How do you understand? How do you see mind? You don't do anything. Of course, not doing is not easy, huh? We also know that. But that's the way. If you let the mind, if you allow, I said, don't suppress your mind. Neither you wander after the mind, neither you suppress the mind. It's not easy. But it is possible. It is your mind, you can. But it will require a discipline of meditation practice. So when you allow the mind, all the dust, all the mud will settle down by itself, not by stirring. Our usual pattern is stirring, which we try to settle the mind. It doesn't do any more help, it makes it worse. So now what you do, as I said, don't cling to the good thought, nor reject the bad thought. See both equal and just be with the breath. Then what happens, all the thoughts, that muddy water will settle down and the clear water will happen. Then you can see the pebbles, you can see the fish, you can see everything what's in the water. Normally you don't see anything. So whether it's our addiction, whether it's our conceptual thoughts, whether it's a habitual pattern, they're all like the wave of that mind. What is the real source of energy or source of what is there is the water. Not dust, dust is, muddy is the secondary, that we have polluted. Same thing, mind. When you allow the thoughts without suppressing, without rejecting or without accepting, basically just allow the thought, just simply saying, it will settle down by itself. And then its true primordial energy will manifest. It doesn't mean that, mind is not something tranquilized. Okay, now what happens? Then we will ask, okay, the mind is clear, then what happens? Obviously, first of all, you will have joy. You will have bliss. Your depression will go away. There's so many qualities. It's pristine cognitive knowledge arises. Intuitive knowledge arises. Your whole life situation will change. From being murky, dark, underworld, you don't know what's going on, and everywhere there's sand and mud is, Now clear water, you're able to go. Your whole life changes. Now for that you need discipline, really discipline. You just have to sit. Then it will change. It will change gradually. Sudden change is possible if somebody has very powerful, very light obscuration from the past. But normally, that's difficult. There are cases in the history that when they sat down, the ordinary people sat next to the teacher. When they stood up, they have seen their true essence. In other words, got enlightened. When they stood up, become enlightened. When they sit, they were ordinary person. When they stood up, become enlightened. There are very rare cases, but most of us has to go the gradual way, because it takes time to change the habit. And the way to change the habit is dealing with the mind meditation way. There's no other way. You cannot intellectualize. You have to be very real, realistic, working with the mind. Then you see change. Then if you look back 1 month ago how you are, you see a little change. 2 months, a little bit more change. 3 months, now your mind, not only during sitting practice, but the effect of it is taking place in your day-to-day post-meditation state also. You're more aware, you're more calm, you're more grounded. Things doesn't, you don't react to aggression. In fact, you can be more gentle, you can be more cognitive. So your whole life changes. Like that.
Thank you, Rinpoche. The question I have, so you talked a little bit earlier about how ego has to assert itself when the mind is lost. So during meditation, you're focusing, or you're focusing on awareness and just being aware of what's around you. And so you have that focus, and so the mind doesn't easily become lost if you maintain that. But throughout the day, when you're at work and you've got all these other things in that post-meditative state, how do you ensure that ego doesn't try to reassert its identity?
Do you think it is possible to have a thought but without ego?
I don't know.
But do you think it's possible?
I honestly don't know.
Yeah. It is possible. There's basic goodness. And it's 1,000 times more cognitive and intuitive than ego's narrow mind. That's the potential, So so when you sit, there's a great Indian teacher called Tilopa in the Kagyu lineage. And his student was Naropa, very famous teacher in the past. And Tilopa told to Naropa, "Oh son, you will not be caught by appearance. You'll be caught by clinging to appearance." This is innocent. We think this is the problem. This caused me to get, cling to those. It's completely innocent. It's harmless, in fact. But our mind, we cling to that, make things up. That is the problem. Now that problem we can see, right? Moment when you see a problem, it cannot really last, isn't it? Because you see it is a false perception. Any false perception doesn't really have a ground there, in fact. It's just a mere phenomena, like a magic, like a dream. You have dreams, but they're not real. So when you see any neurosis, you feel uncomfortable and you want to change that. The fact that you want to change that shows that it has no ground at all there. If it's so well grounded and it's so real, that very notion of change will not even arise in your mind. The fact that you want to change, you feel uncomfortable, it tells some story behind it. This is not the place I want to be. This is not happy. It doesn't conform with your primordial nature. So, it purifies. At some point, the awareness, when it's really highly realized being, is one taste, they say. Everything is just like the cycle of day and night, for example. There's dream yoga practice, or is a practice, but it leads to reality at the end. Whether you sleep, even in your dream, you know you're dreaming. You're not confused by afflictive emotions. You can see that potential, yes, logically you can see that, right? So something like that.
Thank you, Rinpoche.
And we can have more conversation continuously. Yeah.
When I meditate, and usually with the thoughts, it's not arising. I am captivated by thoughts, and by the time I realize I'm thinking, and it's too late. I have been fully in it sometimes for a long time, and then at the end I said, "Ooh, that's how long it has been." But how can I actually observe the thoughts? Or it seems like it's like momentarily it comes up and drops, and comes up and drops.
Observing thought, that's what, good question, is method, which I say use the method. Here the method during breathing meditation, you are with the breath. That's how you observe the thought. So you're aware, you need a mindfulness. You see, mindfulness. At this stage, you need a mindfulness because you're not fully awakened into your primordial basic goodness. You're on the way. So on the way, you need a method. For example, like technique. Technique hasn't been reality yet. Therefore, you need the technique. The technique will become reality one day, for examples, So right now, you need mindfulness. And mindfulness in this particular practice of meditation is the breathing. So you're with the breath. So when you're with the breath, then you know all thoughts coming, but you don't kind of like, you try not to be possessive of the breathing either. You're just simply being there and open. Simply being there and open. But with the mindfulness of the breath. When you breathe in, you're just simply there, which is open. It doesn't have to be tangible. It can be just open. When you breathe out, you're still there. And then any thoughts coming, then you will not be distracted because the measurement is done by the mindfulness of the breathing. Now, if the breathing is difficult, there's another method of meditation. You put like some object like 1 meter away, and then you gaze to that with your eyes. So that becomes the focus of measurement. If you are not with that focus, then your mind is wandering. The moment you see that object, it brings your mind back. That's called the form meditation. There's form meditation, semi-form meditation, and formless meditation. Once you get really used to it, you don't need any form, then the mind is really grounded at that point. So whether it's object meditation, clearly something visible, or breath which is semi-form. There is a breathing, but it's not completely object like in some image or picture or flower. Or is, so it's like semi, in this case we are doing. So you can choose whichever method works for you. But there are mistakes of meditation, such as drowsiness. If you fall asleep, then your mind can be completely drawn, which is not good. Usually at the beginning, beginners meditators have problem with too much penetration, trying to focus too much. Oh, I shouldn't get distracted. I should be there. So there's a little bit too slight heavy-handedness, so to speak. But that's natural in some way because you have to go through that. And then gradually as you keep doing that, that heavy-handedness will become less and more openness will come. So a lot of experience. You have to go through experience. Then you see the mind, how it is. A lot of experience. So Milarepa, his student Gampopa, after he gave all the teaching, very profound teaching, he was very highly realized. Then he sent goodbye to his student. Now you go and teach. On the way when he went, Milarepa, of course he didn't have a house, he was in a cave. Then as he was going, he said, "Son, I have one more teaching to give you." And Gampopa thought, what? He given me all the teaching, what could be left? Then he raised his skirt, this is called shuba, and showed his ass, which is full of calluses. Son, you have to sit this much. Understand? So you have to sit a lot to explore your mind. Yeah. Good. Okay, then let's do world peace prayer. Do meditation whenever you have a chance. When you go to work, when you're having lunch time, sit for a few minutes, watch your mind. Then in between different situations, when you go to have a tea, when you're drinking the tea, watch your mind. If someone if you get like a shock of some kind, also watch your mind, how it's happening, how is the mind is reacting. This is very beneficial to put the mind in action, meditation to action, not just simply in a meditation hall, but in your lifetime situation, in any kind of situation. It's very good to know the mind. In the world in general, and in this nation, may not even the names, disease, famine, war, and suffering be heard. May virtues, qualities, and merit and prosperity greatly increase, and may continuous good fortune and sublime well-being perfectly rise. In the world in general, and in this nation, may not even the names, disease, famine, war, and suffering be heard. May virtues, qualities, and merit and prosperity greatly increase, and may continuous good fortune and sublime well-being perfectly rise. In the world in general, and in this nation, may not even the names, disease, famine, war, and suffering be heard. May virtues, qualities, and merit and prosperity greatly increase, and may continuous good fortune and sublime well-being perfectly rise. By this merit, may all beings gain omniscience. Thank you. All right.
Thank you, Rinpoche. So I just was reflecting, and today is almost exactly our 4-year anniversary of this center being open. We opened on, I think it was March 16th, 4 years ago.
So it's amazing progress, and I just wanted to thank everybody that's made that possible. And if you haven't had a chance to walk around downstairs, so for those that may not know, we opened the center with just this top floor and the bathrooms, and we've spent the last 3 years finishing the basement area. And it's I would say 99% done. There's some finishing touches, but it's really close. And so the vision is now we're going to be able to have meditation retreats and serve food to everyone. So we have a commercial kitchen downstairs. And there's a yoga tai chi room on the other side that's beautiful. If you go in there, there's a huge wall of mirrors. And so we're working with Rinpoche now to start building a schedule to have some teachers come in to do yoga and tai chi and other events in that room. So take a minute before you leave the center and look at that. We're also in the finishing stages of the library. So if people have Dharma books that they want to donate, it's now time that we can start collecting them. And we have some volunteers that have said that they would start cataloging and organizing them, and Rinpoche will approve which ones we have in the library, but it'll be a really beautiful space for us to start studying in. So you can peek your head in that room too. The woodworking was done by one of our Sangha members who lives in Montrose. So it was all done by hand and absolutely beautiful woodwork. So that's the vision for what's happening, and it's amazing that it's all happened in 4 years, and now we're really ready to start growing. We also give people an update. We have a new website coming. So some of our members have worked really hard to get the new website up and running, and Rinpoche took a first look at it, I think, last week and really liked it, and there's a couple changes that we're going to be making, but then very soon we'll be launching this new website, which will have a lot more functionality, better calendar. It'll have a better back end so that members can access some of Rinpoche's older teachings. So it'll be a great website. So upcoming schedule, so we're still finalizing Rinpoche's schedule, teaching schedule while he's here. So if you're not part of our email list, I recommend that you join it. You can sign up in the lobby, just on the right-hand side when you walk out. And then also we've confirmed Brendan Kennedy, which is one of Rinpoche's older students, an incredible meditator. He's one of those that he probably has calluses on his ass from sitting so much. So he'll be teaching April 19th through the 22nd. So April 19th is a Thursday, and then he'll be teaching that weekend. So again, we'll email people out, but I just want to let you know that that's coming. And then last but not least, since there's so many people here, it's wonderful to see all these faces. Membership is one of the main reasons why we can keep this center open. We don't have any other main source of income. So if you are a member, thank you. And if you're not a member, please consider becoming a member. There's no minimum. You can do it $1 a month, and it really goes a long way. There's some benefits to you. Like I said, with a new website, you'll be able to access a lot of Rinpoche's older teachings. And then you get a discount for all events at the center. You get a discount at the bookstore. And then I'd say first and foremost, it's just keeping this building open and having Rinpoche's teachings available. So please consider becoming a member. Right now, the current website can't accept membership because we've shut that down due to security reasons. So if you want to become a member, you can email us or you can talk to Genevieve in the back. All right. Thank you, Rinpoche.